Welcome back, everybody, to the electronic age. I'm your host, Adrian Sea, and today we have a digital creator, marketing agency owner, and overall a phenomenal marketer. I'm here with Elouan. What's up, man? It's great to have you here. I'm so happy we can finally do this podcast.
Good to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. Of course. So I really was excited to get you on the podcast because you have a lot of different takes when it comes to marketing. Can you tell me a bit about that and introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, for sure. Marketing, there's so much to say about it. A little bit about myself. Really, I'm French, been in the US for past 12 years now. Got a lot of exposure, moved around a lot, everywhere, Dubai, San Francisco, Miami, France, bit of Africa as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so moved around a bit. Really passionate about everything that's tech, digital. Early on, as a kid, I was really like a video game nerd. So that's what kind of like brought me into like, the digital world, which is now my passion and my business and what I try to, create and help other people with.
That's phenomenal. Now, you mentioned that marketing has a lot of different facets. What do you mainly cater to? Is there a specific audience?
Yeah, definitely. Marketing is such a big word. Within marketing, a lot of people think like marketing is just like ads and all of that. But the entire marketing facet is, includes branding, includes content creation, includes storytelling, which is a really important factor, includes copywriting and image building and all of these concepts that really, for the past 6 years, I've been, learning and teaching and being an everyday learner about it.
That is so important. And you mentioned this big portion of storytelling. Where do you begin when it comes to storytelling? Because I think a lot of people say, I want marketing. I want to start social. I'm just going to start posting stuff. And then they post these generic ass images that they whipped up on Canva, but it's not resonating with their audience. What part of storytelling does that play into this marketing?
It's funny enough because storytelling is the base of marketing. It's the most important concept that you need to know as a good marketer. And what makes a good story is the hero journey. Just take a look at the oldest stories in the world and the oldest books and the oldest movies. And the reason why they're still remembered to this day is because they have this hero journey. They have this story behind it. You have that, as a marketer on a business standpoint, you have that you're solving a problem and you want to take that problem in a creative way and make sure you solve it throughout the hero journey. So it's like, hey, I have this problem. What does my audience identifies with that problem? How do they identify with this problem? And how we're going to take them on a journey to solve that problem. And it's really, really interesting now because today the best marketers are storytellers. The best, you see a lot of, Instagram creators with, I'm talking about Casey Neistat, such a huge inspiration for me. Casey Neistat, ever since I moved to the US, I barely spoke English, but I was watching Casey Neistat videos because his storytelling transcends the barrier of language. And eventually that's what you want to do as a marketer is transcend barriers and get have your audience and your demographic feel emotions. And it's really about emotions. And how do you invoke emotion is with a good story.
I love that. And it's very true. So if anyone was listening to this and they have the go-getting attitude that they're like, I want to make a brand for myself, right? I interview a lot of DJs. They all want to be the DJ, which makes sense. They got the music. They know they can do it, but they're missing that element that is who they are. Where can they first begin?
Share your struggles. Share your journey. make sure that, the people out there watching that are taking time from, their daily doom scrolling, share the struggles. A lot of people think good marketing is very polished and a good brand is very polished, but no, it's raw. It's raw. It's emotion. So, if you're looking out there to build your brand, take your audience on a journey. I'm call myself a digital creator because what I am is a creative, and it's hard to be a creative in today's world. So I try to share my struggles and my journey as much as possible because it's what people resonates with. It's, okay, he struggles too. I identify, and it doesn't, it just goes across so many different sectors of industry, goes across so many niche and markets. It's, people want to see now the behind the scenes.
The authenticity.
Yeah, everything out there is so, I won't call it fake, but generic, because of how good marketing got. Like data, you get so much data on your users. I mean, you can tell when your user, is scrolling while he's on the bathroom. So you're going to have like a paper toilet ad. It is crazy. It is crazy. It got so good that people are getting tired of it. Mm-hmm. So they want to see the raw, they want to see the emotion, they want to see the struggle, the behind the scenes. And that's really essential.
Now, you mentioned a lot of key elements here that I think takes time to understand as a marketer. What really inspired you to get into marketing to begin with? You said you came from France, got here to the US, started watching these Casey Neistat videos. What really inspired this need to get into marketing?
The need to create.
Okay.
The need to create because, again, marketing is such a big word, but it starts with ideas. Mm. And a lot of people in this world are really good at executing ideas that other people make for them. Mm-hmm. And there's a small portion of people that are good at creating those initial ideas. And that's what I love is creating, is having that spark where it's like at 3 a.m, you're like, oh, that could be such a cool idea. Or you're walking in the street and you see something and then your marketer brain kind of switched on. It's like, that would be such a cool campaign idea. And I think what really drives me to, and my passion is create, like be late at night, listening to music and have, no lights on and just writing down crazy ideas and then executing on them. But that's something that in this world is a small percentage of people can do, is actually create.
Definitely.
And it's hard.
Definitely. It's very hard. And this ties into a big element of, for those who don't have the creative brain, they may be very technically sound. They may be producers, sound engineers who are very powerful, but don't have that capacity to be like, oh, this would make a great reel. This would make a great piece of content. What should they do? Should they hire somebody? Should they find a friend who's good at marketing? What do you think would be a good piece of advice for them?
I think everybody is its own creator of ideas in their own way. So okay. While, and you see it, right? Like it takes an entire team to make a great music, great sound. You mentioned the sound designer, but the sound designer, might want to create, a new sound pattern that's going to be like, wow, okay, we never heard that before. Yep. But the artist itself is going to create lyrics. So really encourage, people to create in their own ways. You don't have to be, an artist in yourself in order to create. You just need to, have the right environment, have the right, mindset and the right, the right, goal. And then you can just, write things down and create. It's that easy.
I see. Yeah, it can be that easy. Really, it really could just be just jotting your ideas down on a notebook, anything just to get started. So I want to talk about your journey, and that's where you are today with building PRFX. Right. For those in the audience who don't know, Elouan has a marketing firm currently, and that's PRFX. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I've started my first marketing agency when I was 17.
Wow. That's young.
Yeah.
That's young.
I always found, a lot of people have a tough time digitalizing, going into the digital age.
Okay. Yep.
Pardon my French. But a lot of people struggle to basically take their work digitally. And so that's what I'm good at is, the online presence and the digital world. And so when I was 17, I, mostly helped, I taught myself how to film, how to edit, how to do YouTube ads, how to do Google ads, how to do Facebook ads. And I started doing this for real estate agents because a lot of real estate agents, didn't have that knowledge of like, hey, I could get clients from having an Instagram. I could get clients from having a really good website. And that really opened up for me because there is truly a need. And a lot of people don't have that technical knowledge. So it was out of necessity. And then, PRFX came out of necessity for its, traders. It's a personal branding agency, mainly around traders and kind of fintech because they're so busy and with trading and they're so busy being good at trading that they don't know how to grow their own brand. They just all what traders want to do is get in front of the charts, make money, and they don't want to spend time on Instagram building their brand. And so there's really a need here for traders, to grow their opportunities, to grow their businesses, to grow their brands, to build that personal brand. And it's hard to do that when you're a dedicated, true trader, profitable, because you spend so much time on the charts. And so that's where, PRFX positions itself is taking that trading knowledge, as a trader and marketer, and really helping them out into, hey, you should start maybe filming some content that way because, it could really help your brand. Maybe you want to sell a course or you want to start a hedge fund or you want to, be more involved in a fintech other than trading. That's where we come in. And there's really a need of today because there is a lot of those gurus, in today's world. There's like all those trading gurus, but they're marketers. They are marketers. They are really, really good marketers. They have, 500,000 followers on Instagram and they just make so much money on Instagram that they're not even trading anymore.
Wow.
So, and on the other side, there is those traders that are dedicated to the charts and that don't have that knowledge or time to spend to invest in their brand, in their personal brand. And so there's, I'm really there in the middle. I have a team of amazing content team, amazing, video editors, amazing, camera crew. And it really helps people.
That's fantastic. And you mentioned this, you're basically the bridge, right? Helping them become the personal brand that they've always wanted now that they have achieved the success in trading. How is this possible? Would you say it's mainly through systems that you've created that allows you to be able to create this content machine for them? Is it really systems that allows that all to happen?
A lot of, tested systems that I've learned, for the past 8 years as a marketer, but also the emergence of AI tools, that really dictates what works and what doesn't. And as long as you have a good system, and a lot of people should know that, and a lot of people should start looking into it, is that AI is only good as long as your primary systems are. So, if you have if you want to create with AI, if you want to use AI, you should before have a goal for it and a system before it. But it's just it amplifies, it helps in terms of putting out content. You know, we use a lot of AI everywhere in the systems, but they're just addition, you know, time efficiencies there. It's more of an added product rather than the entire things itself.
Yeah. Now you mentioned AI there. A lot of people, I think, are fearful of incorporating AI into their own system or just into their daily life. What benefit have you seen utilizing it, and why should people embrace it and not treat it as if it's like the next Terminator?
No, yeah. Everywhere, man. I mean, AI is coming for us.
That's how people see it.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely two sides here, but, you know, I use AI everywhere in my life. And I think it's going to become, you know, I see myself as an early adopter because, you know, I've always been fan of, you know, technology and, you know, everybody knows ChatGPT, but, you know, they were really good AIs before ChatGPT. It just democratized it. But, you know, I have a personal assistant that's an AI. It's taking my meetings and it's, you know, rearranging them depending on my time, depending on, you know, availability. If there's a meeting that gets changed, the AI changes, you know, my schedule around. So that really helps, in terms of, yeah, just efficiency, video editing, using AI with the help of, a dedicated video editor, but it helps. What else? There's AI and there's really,
AI for a lot of things.
Yeah, AI, you know, in trading, there's AI for, you know, podcasts here as well. It cleans up the editing process. It makes it much more efficient, much more, you know, much easier. And out there's literally AIs that, you know, help you build businesses. There is a sentence from Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI. He said, in the next 5 years, there will be a $1 billion company with only one employee. And the rest of the employees being AI.
Scary thought.
Scary thought.
Yeah, honestly, it is. For some, they hear that and they're like, oh no, this is AI taking our jobs,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a new form of almost xenophobia, but towards machines. So with that thought in place, what can people do to be on the right side of this instead of being the ones kind of left out?
Educate themselves. I wrote a book called The New Age of AI that's coming out soon, in the next month or so. So I'm really happy about that. But I wrote that book for my parents because they were looking at me kind of like on the computer working with like AI and you know, ChatGPT and Perplexity and Claude, and which are a bunch of different AIs I use. And they were asking me, how do you do that? Like looking at me, I was kind of some wizard. And so I taught them and then their friends started talking to me. Is like, hey, how can I use it in my business? How can I use it for that? And so at the end of the day, I was like, okay, let me create a book that explains a lot of it, you know, how to integrate it in your life, how to integrate it in your business, how to, you know, make yourself more efficient as a business owner or as a marketer or as a content creator with AI. Because at the end of the day, I wrote this book because of, you know, everybody that thinks like my parents. That's like, hey, this guy's, my kid is some sort of wizard. He's having a robot do his job for him. And so it's really about knowledge. It's about, you know, taking the time to go to the right sources of knowledge. A lot of companies like Google, Amazon, Meta, they're, you know, even universities like Stanford, Harvard, MIT, Berkeley, they're all coming out with, you know, research papers, case studies that, you know, you can find free online. And it talks about AI and, you know, how it's created and how it's being used. So I think education is education is the first place to go. And then there is the integration of that knowledge and how to use it, because a lot of people limit themselves to ChatGPT, where it's you're just at the tip of the iceberg.
The surface.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So let's dig into that a little bit. What are some of your favorite tools to use when it comes to AI? Because you hear the word AI and you just think it's this robot in the sky that is just giving you information. But what is some of your favorite apps that integrate AI and make your life easier?
Yeah, definitely. So I'd say the main one would be Claude. It's an AI developed by Anthropic, which it's a large language model such as ChatGPT from OpenAI, but it's much more precise in its answers. It's much more also checked, because a lot of people don't know that, but ChatGPT gets a lot of answers wrong, and people just don't double check it. You're like, oh, it's from ChatGPT, it must be right. No, like that is the scary part. It's like, how do you make sure that information is right? So there are a lot of, new AIs out there, similar to ChatGPT, same thing. You just type your prompt. Your prompt is the little thing you're basically asking the AI what to do. And you basically get an output, but you need to make sure that output is right.
Correct, yeah.
And how are you going to do that? Well, you got to do your own research. But Claude is definitely the first one. In terms of creativity, using a lot of Midjourney tools. Midjourney is I'm sure everybody listening to this has seen those AI generated pictures that are insane. They're
getting better.
It's crazy.
It's shocking.
It's shocking, and it's there's no difference. There's new ones that came out, with the new updates from Midjourney and a lot of other we call this Gen AI, generative AI. So you'd basically tell me, make me a dinosaur with a hat and it'll make you a super realistic, dinosaur with a hat. But it's for creativity and kind of like how to get my creativity started. It's a really good tool that, hey, I have linking it back to how I use it in my business is I have this amazing kind of video idea or ad idea, and then I can just type the idea in, and then the AI, the generative AI, is going to give me how it would look, basically. So it's kind of like you get your words visualized for you. And I think it's very powerful, because that's what a lot of people struggle with. It's, how to put your words into
how to visualize.
Exactly. And so Runaway Gen 3 is a really big one as well that helps with more videos. So you can literally, they have been ads now created by Nike and other companies that are just fully AI generated.
Wow.
LVMH is huge on that. They're using AI to create $1 million ads that are actually bringing in revenue, millions of dollars of revenue, which at the time before AI, it would have cost them $500,000 to make. But no, there is, one person that's educated enough, one creative person, because again, you still need to have that base of creativity.
Still need a person.
Exactly. And they created this entire marketing campaign and ads just with AI.
It's crazy when you really put it into perspective. Now, one you told me about was Perplexity, I think is, what is that exactly?
Perplexity is like AI as well. It's more for, let's say it's more business related. So it's, think about it as your professor. I really like this term. So diving back, into what ChatGPT is, basically ChatGPT is a recollection of data, and it just spills out data. So you ask ChatGPT what's the tallest mountain on there. It's like a Google, it's a search engine. But those tools like Claude and Perplexity, they're search engine, they're AIs, but they're trained and limited to certain, usage. So for example, lawyers use Perplexity a lot because Perplexity has been trained on, lawyer data and has been trained on giving actual information from, lawyer text. It helps with businesses because it has been trained by, research paper, business papers. So it's all about input and output. And the most important thing is the input. What you give is what you get. And so the more detailed and the more researched your input, your base idea is, the better outcome you're going to have with AI. And that a lot of people struggle with that because it's a new work. It's work.
It's a new form of art.
Yeah. It's a new form of art, but it's also you need to train, you need to learn about that. It's called, the art of prompting, literally. And there are guys and girls out there that are getting paid $500,000 salaries a year to be prompt engineers, because they're good at prompting. Because again, your output is only going to get as good as your input. And so these are actual jobs with people trained into talking to AI. Like, think about it. It's like, hey, what do you do? I just know how to talk to AI. It's really that. It's like, people ask you, like, how do you use it so good? And it's just like, I know how to talk to it. And like a lot of people kind of freak out because it's, they say by saying thanks to ChatGPT, they're going to get a better answer.
I'm going to be kind to it just in case,
Exactly. So that's kind of like the thing where it's like, I'm going to be kind to the AI just in case, but it's, if you take it to the extreme, it's an actual form it's a new form of a job. It's learning how to talk to an AI.
Now, I want to kind of bring this down to the basis of what AI and these tools use, and that's the function of an LLM, right? A language learning model. If for someone that doesn't understand that concept, how would you describe it?
Yeah, again, as a Google on steroids, because it's trained. So a lot of OpenAI with ChatGPT, what they've done, and the reason why it's so good now is because they're just training it every day, every second. There's billions and billions and billions of data sets going into that AI, and the more time passes, the better it gets because it learns. And that's why people are scared that it's like, AI is going to take over. We're going to lose our jobs. We need to be nice to AI. It's because, they've created a technology that basically mimics human behavior in learning. And that's the scary part.
That's the scary part. And this ties into something I wanted to bring up that OpenAI released, and it was a press release with their newest update, right? So when OpenAI released their newest update, they mentioned that it had the ability to actually create conversation and mimic forms of emotion and intimacy with people. And the press release was essentially saying, don't get attached, because if you're feeling lonely, people will just talk to AI and it talks back.
Yeah.
So not to end up being like the movie Her, but
exactly.
What do you see as a potential risk of this now that it can almost mimic human behavior in chatting with people? Do you think there can be a form of like people then seclude themselves and just talk to ChatGPT all day because it talks back?
Yes.
It could be a thing.
It's scary, but it's the truth. I mean, if you look out there, like there is so many uses of AI. Like I saw these guys, I think here in Miami, they created this, I mean, you see it, it's like the AI girlfriends.
Yes.
And it's scary because, as you mentioned, it's like there is guys out there or girls that, pay
someone to talk
to an AI. And at the end of the day, yes, it is scary, because again, we're coming back to the limits of AI, but the limits come to one, it is to be regulated. I'm a true believer that AI needs to be regulated. Elon Musk is as well. A lot of people don't know that, but Elon Musk is one of the co-founders of OpenAI.
Yeah. And he's actually sued OpenAI for this reason.
Exactly. And so Elon Musk is a big and Sam Altman, the CEO as well, he's a big advocate of, okay, we need to regulate AI. So now I don't think it comes to the user to kind of like put the limits on usage, but it's for the governments to kind of like, hey guys, wake up. We need to kind of like put laws behind that, and we need to regulate that because it's happening so fast that, you know, and obviously everybody knows that government takes years to do anything. And so it's happening so fast that it does need to be regulated on a larger scale. And I think, you know, it's important that they limit some type of usage, especially with emotionally, I feel attaching, because it's scary. But I think it's great. I think it's great in one way because I've had this idea of an AI that I've been planning to build since I'm, you know, been in college, and I could have really used it because, you know, when I was in college, there wasn't kind of like this huge AI boom. It was just, you know, a year or two before, but it's emotional support AI for young adults, and so I've been looking at some ways how to build that. One way is by a therapist. So I'm basically having a large language model, so kind of like a ChatGPT, but again, trained with input from a professional source. That is the most important. So trained by a therapist that will help, you know, young adults that struggle with, you know, being lonely, being new, you know, being in a new town while you're in college, you know, an entire new life. Sometimes you don't want to talk to your parents about things. You don't want to talk to your sister about things. You don't want to talk to your friends about things. You just want to let it go. And that's why a lot of people journal, I feel. But, you know, how good would it be for, you know, to have a conversation with a trained AI by a trained therapist? But again, I'm building it, but I've put limits into it, meaning that it's only going to go as far as the therapist trained it. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's really important that there is a set of limitations on AI and a set of limitation on the input of AI.
I see. Now, one of the largest countries to adopt AI right now is the US. Have you seen that be a similar adoption in other countries? For like France, for example, have you seen a similar adoption or want to engage with AI?
Yeah, I mean, the US is such a powerhouse of entrepreneurship, which is, I feel like it is normal and quite natural for emerging tech to come from the US and being developed in the US because, you know, Silicon Valley, you know, places like Miami, and there's a big ecosystem of entrepreneurship in the US. And that's why people don't shy away, the government and people don't shy away from new things. Going into Europe and France has been, and it already is a big powerhouse in AI. Because one is that the French government, you know, have had a tough time with, you know, the past technologies like blockchain, crypto. You know, there was kind of like a late adoption to it.
Definitely.
And so we're kind of seeing a shift of like, okay, yes, there's that safety in Europe. Everything that has to do with data is much safer. You know, it's much safer. Everything that has to do with tech has to be regulated. So you definitely don't have kind of like that data Wild West that you have in the US.
It's true. Even with like GDPR.
Mark Zuckerberg. Please don't listen to this, Mark. But definitely there is room to grow, and there's amazing projects coming out. I mean, Claude and Anthropic are French.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's definitely room to grow. But I think what's missing is kind of like the Silicon Valley infrastructure that, you know, the tech has here in the US. So it definitely has room to grow, room to improve, but there is a lot of, you know, very talented companies and people in France working on AI.
I'd love to hear that. And that's amazing. And this is going to take a crazy turn, but one thing I've realized that I never even thought about until I delved deeper into this world is the use of AI in warfare. Now, this is a loaded question, but I was recently, I follow this page called Atlas News that does a really good job of just providing non-biased, just information about what's going on in geopolitics. And one thing we're seeing right now, and that's especially with the war that's going on between Russia, Ukraine, all that, is the use of AI to develop images that never happened and use it as a way of clickbait or outrage. And it's hard to tell the difference. Where are these two pieces real and what's fake? Do you think there needs to be a type of technology that can identify these types of images so that they can almost create a safeguard or a form of regulation?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's needed. Again, I think it's needed because what you just mentioned is so scary. It is
very
can
scary.
have, I mean, think about it. You can have like a picture of, a foreign diplomat, that has been AI generated, let's say, it's crazy in a meeting with another foreign diplomat
in the wrong place.
And then you have a full geopolitical mess on your hand. But talking about the safety net, there's definitely, I mean, the NSAs definitely have something in their back pocket. I mean, it's definitely putting a safeguard out there. And there's a lot of companies out there that their business model is to fact check kind of like AI. So I think it's good because it provides opportunity, just like you have now the fact checking on Twitter and the fact checking on Instagram, now on Instagram, that is bad news for
some AI companies.
That is bad news for AI companies. That is bad news for also, people using filters on Instagram.
You just attacked the entire Miami scene.
Sorry, Miami, but now there's safeguards in place by Meta and Instagram that says this photo has a filter and or has an AI generation, and that comes from Europe. It got adopted first in Europe by Norway because it's true. I mean, it's like it needs to be safeguarded because you see photos on Instagram or Twitter, this can spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
And so having that, and trusting companies to, use it in an ethical way is paramount. And that's such a big debate that we can go on for hours, is the ethics of using AI. But I think companies, out there, Meta is definitely, with the fact check and Elon Musk with X, that definitely are working towards that.
I see. Now, I would love your take on AI in education, because when AI first came out, a lot of professors were struggling. They were like, man, all these fucking papers are written by AI. No one has an original thought at all. A lot of them were, and written by ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
My take on it is that it actually strengthens the student because they're learning how to prompt. They're learning how to utilize this and become better at it. They just got caught because they did it badly, or they did it without enough originality on their end. Do you think AI is good for education or bad because it makes people just depend on it too much and not come up with their own ideas?
I think it's a wonderful tool for education. It's wonderful in a way that education and knowledge is all about access. And the easier it is to access information, the more, educated you're going to get. And the more kind of like less friction for the student to gain that knowledge. So again, ChatGPT is just a search engine, but it's a search engine that can write for you. And so it created I wish I had ChatGPT in college, man. I would be at Goldman Sachs right now.
Same,
in high school, I would have, gone to Harvard. But I think it's a wonderful one. I mean, again, there's not just a tool like ChatGPT, but for example, let's take AI dubbing, dubbing videos. You can have, and that's something I currently use, is a tool called HeyGen. And it's literally, people, you can have one person, we can have you and I right now speaking Mandarin if we wanted to. seamless. And it's getting that good. Like your podcast right now can go out in China and be understood.
Wow.
Or in Spanish or in German. And so I think using these tools to promote knowledge and to promote education in a safe and healthy way can have a really big impact. You know, it's like how a lot of content creators are starting to use it. I think the bigger one is Mr. Beast. You know, if you look at now, I mean, Mr. Beast is an amazing creator, an amazing philanthropist, has millions, around 30 million subscribers.
Oh, it's insane.
30 million subscribers only on his US channel. But he has a Spanish channel, a Portuguese channel. He's got a French channel. He's got a Japanese channel. And all across those channels, it's tens of millions of followers and subscribers. Wow. And because he dubbed and he adopted kind of these new technologies into his own content to, educate new audiences about his companies and his content. So I think it's amazing.
That's such a good point about bringing in the interconnectivity, right? The world, we don't all speak one language. English is widely spoken, but it's not the only language of the world, right? There's hundreds of languages out there. When it comes to content, even as your average creator, do you think they should be creating their own separate YouTube channels for maybe like Spaniard, or maybe for Mandarin? Do you think there's a benefit in that, or should only these big creators be trying to achieve that?
I think 100%. I mean, if you're doing something original, and you want there's always going to be that language barrier. Except with Elon Musk, with Neuralink, a chip in your brain that's going to have, I think you're going to be able to, learn Mandarin in like 2 seconds, which is mind blowing. But, put it out there. I think, the tool is available for usage. There's just a bit of education to be made. But put it out there. I mean, I wish my content would be, would have been in Spanish or in French. I can speak it natively, but in German and it's a great tool because, I mean, look at companies. Like if you think about companies duplicating their content in multiple languages, you're expanding your potential user base, and you're expanding your potential client reach. And I think the tools are there. It's just, you need those trained people to know how to use it. And you can use it in so many ways. You can use it in so many different markets. Again, it's just the applications are limitless.
I see. Now, I want to tie this all back together to what you're doing currently with your marketing firm. What do you feel is next for you, and where do you want to grow into? Knowing all these things about AI, these systems that you can build for yourself as a marketer, where do you want to go next?
Oh man, I ask this every morning to myself. No, that's a really good question. I think the most important for me now is keep helping, those traders build their personal brand, because there's really a gap in the market. And at the end of the day, I have the ability to help. And I think because I like trading, I like the people that are trading, the environment it creates. So definitely this with PRFX. I have so many projects cooking up. It's hard to begin with, but the book on AI is coming out. That's really exciting. Give knowledge.
I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, give knowledge, and train people. And, this AI, this emotional support AI, I think it's a really deep project, that really hits me deep, because, I wish, a lot of people, struggle with mental health, and there's new ways to help, there's BetterHelp, which is amazing. And so it's funny. I think I'm going to ask the audience this, but it's like, I'm going to ask you a question now. It's like, would you let kind of like an AI talk to you? And would you feel comfortable talking to an AI about your feelings?
Totally. I think I completely would, because we've never, especially for men, and I'm going to preface this with, men are a lot of people don't see this from the outside looking in, especially if you're not a guy. And that's, a lot of men hold emotions in because that's what you're told to do. You're told to be strong. You gotta just like, you speak your feelings, in the US, especially, I would say. It's more like, you gotta be the dude. You gotta be the strong guy and just suck it up and keep going. Yeah. So I think having this capability would allow more men to talk about their feelings, because they're a lot of times not going to want to speak with about their significant other, because they're afraid it's going to make them look weak, or they're afraid if they talk to it with a friend, they'll look crazy. So if they have a form of AI, someone who is non-judgmental and then just speak to, I think it'll help mental health significantly.
Yeah. And it's, it's primarily why I want to build it. It's like, get your thoughts out there, and like, and mental health in men is such a strong, passionate subject for myself. And because as you mentioned, men's don't like, we talk about mental health all the time, but how about men's mental health? There's always that stigma of, yes, okay, you gotta look strong. Like, be strong. It's okay. Like, be strong. It is also such show of awareness of yourself to be able to acknowledge your feelings. And, to all the men out there, like, suck it up, man. You have feelings. Like, you don't have.
We're human.
Yeah, we're humans. Like mental health is a subject in men that needs to be talked about more, and that needs. It's a problem that needs to be catered to, and I think you see it a lot with. I would love to see kind of BetterHelp's demographic. How many women users they have, and how many female users they have, and how many male users they have. But I can tell you that I definitely think it's over 50% of like tools like BetterHelp, their users are male, because again, we're not built to, hey, look, like, let's talk about our feelings. Like, I'm not feeling well. Like, suck it up. Keep going. And it's good. Do this. Keep going. Like, yes, be strong. Go to hit the, be healthy, hit the gym, take care of your people. Yeah, sometimes like you can do that, but also while, acknowledging how you feel mentally. And I think it's such a strong message that needs to be put out there. I think, the thing with Lucy, like the AI I want to create is for universities, because I think the mental health systems that are put in place in universities here in the US is outdated. And honestly, everywhere, like not even universities, but for young adults, people are like, they're not going to go see a counselor. They're not going to go talk to your parents. That's why I want to primarily, cater this to universities first, because it's a problem out there and the solutions are outdated. And I think this needs to be addressed.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think with the advent of bullying and how much now it's getting publicity and becoming like, hey, this is a real thing. Like, you got third graders, first graders being bullied into like deep depression, and they're children, So I think even having the ability to talk to someone, even on an app, could go miles for mental health and really help them. I think another segment of this that could be extremely powerful and much needed is the military. And I say that because a large amount of vets, if you look at the statistics, veterans' suicide rates are extremely high. And it happens mainly because of PTSD and just different forms of mental harm that was implemented to them during their time in the military. But it's also because they don't have anyone to talk to.
100%.
And I think there's a piece to this that I can see AI potentially playing a role in helping with these rates come down and just giving more people access to someone to talk to.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think it's a common, it's an epidemic, and the mental health, it's a disease. And we're so, man, we're in a tough generation. Like, it's, our parents tell us, like, or grandparents, like, I didn't have this at your age, or like, I wasn't on my phone at your age. I didn't have this luxury. Like, I love this quote. It's like, tough times create tough men, and, calm, like, what is it?
And then tough men. So tough men create great times. Great times create weak men.
Yeah.
Weak men create weak times.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
The cycle continues.
So it's a cycle, and I think yeah, I mean, I think right now our generation is so focused on being, doomed by the algorithm, by TikTok algorithms, and by comparison, and it's so easy to compare yourself with everything you see out there on Instagram. It's a source of inspiration. It's you get up every morning, you see that guy that has it and that's sharing it with his audience, and you're like, okay, I want to have that goal too. But it's also very important to take a step back and not compare yourself. Like, I'm 24 years old and my goal is to retire by 30. and I'm 24 years old, and I feel like, and I'm looking at other businessmen or successful entrepreneurs that are 40, late 30s, that are like 30, even early 30s, and I'm like, why am I not there yet? Why am I not like these guys? And sometimes I need to catch myself and tell myself that it's like, hey, it's okay. Like, you're 24. Like, I was, like, it's, and with Instagram, and you see all these kids, they're like 18. Hey, I became a drop shipper and crypto trader and multi-millionaire, and I retired my mom and my parents. And I mean, like, that's great. Like, that's my goal. Like, my goal is to retire my entire family and like be able to have them be safe and everything. And it's just today, there's such easy access to nonsense on Instagram and TikTok and out there. So like, a lot of 16-year-old kids are just comparing themselves.
And the crazy thing is, a lot of it is fake.
A lot of it's fake.
I dived into this world a little bit recently with this girl she works for a PR firm. And her job is based out of LA, and it's to create influencer machines. So essentially create a good-looking person, rent a mansion, rent the Lambo, and put up the image that they are this world-class person to get the following, to get the lie going. Enough people buy in, they do that comparison, and they're like, oh, I need to follow this person. They got to figure it out. But it's all a lie. It's all being manipulated by a PR firm that is creating an image.
It's all a fugazi.
It's true. But this is why I think it's so important to just really tie into this mental health aspect and dig in, because everything on social media isn't real. Right?
Yeah, and it's all about like, do your thing, do what you like, explore your passions. Yes, use internet and Instagram and TikTok and to inspire yourselves. Yes, but follow and I think it's always been, I've been educated like this through my parents. I've been really lucky that they were always like, do what makes you happy, because at the end of the day, you compare yourselves to all these people that are like 18 and driving Lambos, and you're like, oh, I'm not 18, I'm not driving a Lambo, and that's just like, that ruins you mentally. and so it's really important for it to have a balance, and I think the balance is not there for a lot of people, and that creates anxiety, like social anxiety. Like, people out there, it's so funny. I did this last month. I went to a restaurant and I was just looking around, and people with their friends, friend group, and they're on their phones. They're scrolling through Instagram. It's like half attention. Okay, don't get me started on like the attention span epidemic we're having, and it's all like, and it's sad to see, but I'm also part of it. I'm also part of it. I'm guilty, and I think a lot of our generation is like, put it down, live what's in front of you, see what's in front of you, feel what's in front of you. And then I think, this mental health aspect is going to be
crucial.
Yeah.
Crucial to all of that.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a phenomenal conversation, Elouan. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Appreciate it.
Are there any final thoughts that you would like to give to the audience?
No, just keep up on the Instagram.
Where can they follow you?
Yeah, Elouan LC, French name, apologies. Elouan LC. And yeah, keep an eye out for the new book. Keep an eye out for all the incoming projects and for new ventures, and keep an eye out for that amazing podcast that we just dropped. Yeah. I appreciate you taking the time, man. I feel like conversations is really good to have, and you're a great host. And thank you, man.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here today. For everyone tuning in, thank you for tuning in and listening to this. Hop on that mental health bus, figure out what you can do for yourself, and it will take you a long way. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, we'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.